That was a race car, and this is the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is our review of F1, and I'm your host, the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, joined by the American hero Nate Thurmond and newcomer to the pod, Herb Williams, to review this movie as we do all of our movies on the 5 Bro 4 Squad criteria, which is the acting, the story, our favorite scene, impacts from the film, and rewatchability. Let's dive right into it. Acting and cast. Nate Thurmond, we have 4 main players here. Who stood out to you, positive or negative, in F1? And as some people would say, the cars are also a character as well.
You know, you could really think of it that way if you want, and I do. You said there was like 4 main ones, and
we got Pitt,
yep.
Idris, Bardem, and Kerry Condon. I feel
sure.
like.
And they all had played a great part in this. I really love Pitt and Dameson's back and forth, their sarcastic nature with each other. It didn't seem like forced or anything, but it seemed like they had good chemistry. Honestly, Bardem, he was kind of just there for me.
It's weird to see him not murdering people in the movie.
He was obviously like a main catalyst in like driving the story forward, but overall, he was just like, he didn't really do much for me, to be honest. But then Kerry Condon's character, she was great. I loved her in Banshees of Inisherin, and this is obviously way different than that. But I still loved her and Pitt's connection and love story.
Herb Williams, you also are an F1 head, similar to Nate Thurmond. I know there were a few driver cameos in this as well. You probably feel like you wish we had more of that. Who stood out, good or bad, to you in terms of the cast?
I thought the whole cast was great. I know it was really centered around Brad Pitt. It was his movie. But I thought he kind of had the least impact on it. I thought the role players in the movie brought it up. They seemed very fitting for an F1 movie. They played the parts really well. So that's kind of what I was looking for. You know what you're going to get out of Brad Pitt. He's going to act really well. He's going to play his role really well. And you're going to get some, corny faces, some corny lines out of him. But yeah, I thought the whole cast was pretty well put together.
Let me ask you guys this. Kerry Condon, I liked her a lot in this. Was she believable as the technical director of the team? Because obviously her love story is important in this film, and I think they did a good job of not turning it into like Tin Cup, where I feel like it becomes too much of a romantic element of the movie.
Yeah.
But it did give a nice little addition to Sonny Hayes' character. You have to make this a 4-quadrant film, right? The people that aren't just into F1 can get something else out of it. So you guys believed her as the technical. She was like the audience's intro into what was making the car work or not work.
100%. You'll actually see that a lot in F1. Not to kind of typecast female versus male, but you'll see a lot of females that have that role in F1. So I thought it was pretty fitting. She has a similar accent to a lot of the females in F1 as well, like Bernie Collins.
I don't know her position, but Red Bull, they always have someone like on the seats.
She's their strategist.
Okay, strategist. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and she plays a huge part in real life Red Bull racing.
Absolutely.
So.
And one last thing, Javier Bardem, I always love if he gets a yelling scene in the movie, and when the car was going to be DQ'd, he's like, "This is the rider! You're going to do this for our team!" I was like, fuck yeah, let the guy go off the handle. Also, this will happen for 2 years of this team!
Yeah, it's when he's running out. I'm sorry, I'm talking to you. No, stay here.
Joseph Kosinski, the director's like, that's not in the script. Keep filming, though. I don't know what he's saying. It's fucking gold.
Don't know where he's going with it.
All right, story and plot. According to IMDb, the synopsis for F1 is a Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver. Herb, we'll go to you first. Obviously, sports movies, it's very difficult for them, even ones based on true stories like Moneyball, to not veer into like the sports movie isms where it's like, okay, that's unrealistic. That could never happen. As a true F1 head, did you feel like you got a decent balance here of, all right, this is true to the sport and is part of the reason I got in here versus like, all right, that would never happen in a...
There were definitely parts of the movie that would never happen. We'll get to that a little bit later. But for the most part, I would say, yeah, the storyline kind of hits. You do see guys come out of retirement pretty regularly. I mean, we've got one on the grid right now, Fernando Alonso, who took a number of years off, and now he's back in the grid. He's, 42, 43 years old, and he's talking about signing another 2-year deal. So guys do leave and then come back. There's even chatter about Nico Rosberg coming back.
Oh, wow.
And he's been gone since 2018, 2019.
Do you think he'll see this movie and be like, give me my fucking
I've got a
gloves?
shot.
He honestly might, but the difference is, Sonny Hayes, he never won anything.
Right.
Nico won his championship and then retired right after. So he probably feels fulfilled. He has another career afterwards. But there's always chatter when, like, a seat opens up and they need an experienced driver. Like, will Nico come back? So it does happen in F1.
For me, being someone who isn't into F1, but like you guys love the sport, and I still watch it like on Saturdays with you and Sundays with you. I thought the story did a really good job of connecting people that weren't like diehards and didn't really understand like the technical aspects of it. I do wish they went a little more into how the points worked and the standings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the entire
Makes
time,
sense.
and maybe this is the point, and I was just overthinking it, but I was thinking them just wanting to finish first was solely like a moral thing for Javier Bardem's character. I don't know if that actually meant monetarily anything with them keeping the team, or like is there like relegation in F1? Because I know there's an F2 that they mentioned as well. That part, it didn't ruin the movie for me by any aspect because I love this film, but I know they probably didn't want to dive too deep into how the standings work because there's obviously 2 championships, right? Drivers and then the teams.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was as well.
Yeah, from the movie standpoint, I don't even think they really ever got into like the technical aspects of like, oh, we're gonna lose the team because of this. I think they just kind of grouped it just for the movie as, hey, we need to succeed at some level. I don't know if they.
I thought they did.
Did they say something
I
specific?
thought they had to win a race in order to keep the team.
That's a
and
really
that's what-
specific and weird.
And that's why at the
Well-
end, when they had the upgrades and they were getting better, like they actually finished 3rd and 4th on merit instead of like their insane strategy. The guy, the chairman of the board, whoever that was trying to sabotage them so that they wouldn't win a race.
That would
And
make
then-
more sense. But yeah,
and then at
Because
the
he
end,
wanted the
when
hostile takeover.
Oh,
of the team.
exactly, and
Yeah.
then the review ended up passing. They were able to get their car back for the
Yeah.
final race, and that's why he
Yeah.
was nervous. And
That
then they
makes
won
sense.
the race,
I must have
and
missed that part.
and the lady came up to him and
Yeah.
said, "Well, I guess it's another 3 years
Yeah,
now.
we'll try
if,
again."
if you're even still on the board."
Yeah,
That was right
So
after.
yeah, they had to win the race to keep the team.
there we go. Okay.
or basically to like keep the wolves at bay from the
Yeah,
board
yeah.
takeover.
But we were talking off pod about this just a second ago. But yeah, and like Herb mentioned a second ago, like there are people that come out of retirement, but people who have won. Like the overall premise of this, it was kind of ridiculous. He'd been out for 3 decades, and he really didn't have much of an impression on F1. He was just a hot shot when he came in.
Well, then he almost died on the track.
Dude, that was kind of a scary looking.
I thought
Yeah.
that was his teammate at first who was dead. I was like, that body's limp. He's done.
God, that was crazy.
So that's one part I wasn't entirely clear on was the timeline. So 93, obviously the crash happened. Did they say he took a decade off of just racing? So now we're in 2003, and then he just started racing whatever car he could
Yeah, I
get a
don't-
Yeah, he
seat
was
in?
like blackballed, so he's like, I'll race fucking go-karts. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
And I didn't get the vibe that it was present day, but obviously everything was present day. Like,
sure.
So yeah, the 30 years is kind of nuts.
Yeah,
Even if
that
he
part
was, Max Verstappen, 17 years
Yeah.
old, coming into the sport,
Yeah.
he'd still be late 40s. I mean, again, it's doable in F1 if you're still a risk taker at that age.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were definitely some parts of the premise that were absurd.
they did show like his. I mean, obviously it was because of a crash, but his body is not holding up.
No,
The
he
way
had
he
like the
wanted.
scars and everything. But even with that being said, like it's funny because like the overall premise was kind of ridiculous, but like everything in the film was really great. I like how they masked teaching people who don't know a lot about F1 as like the commentator over the race. I don't feel like that felt forced, and I even kind of enjoyed it. Is because they had real commentators in there. They had people from the F1 world in there.
Yeah.
So it sounded real, and honestly, a lot of stuff they talk about that stuff in the race anyway. They'll talk about strategy, talk about tires, and that stuff sprinkled in there was really great. Like coming out of the pit, oh, he's gonna be faster on these new fresh softs. It's like real shit that they say in the races.
I told Herb this in the movie. I think the tire thing was really well done because when they would go over their pre-race like plans or different strategies, that I'm sure there's a lot more they get into, but that was like the focal point. Was like when do we need to change tires, and these are the 3 options. And
Them
that's of
talking
course
about the plans were awesome because you always hear the drivers on the radios. Hey, we're sticking with plan C, and we're gonna go to plan B,
Yep.
plan A, all that kind of
Jeff asked me at one point in the movie, he's like, so is that just what they do, plan A, plan B, plan C? And I was like, I was thinking this. I was like, oh, you've never watched the Ferrari race where they get to plan H and plan K.
Oh, God.
What does Ludacris says in Fast and Furious? We need more alphabets!
Wheels are falling off.
Basically what happens.
But yeah, it was really fun. There's a lot to talk about with like the plot and all that kind of stuff.
I wanted to say one thing about the strategy point that you brought up. I'm very torn on the strategy part because I love that they made strategy part of the movie. But then the entire premise of the strategy was so ridiculous.
Like the first one.
So like
Especially the first
they
one.
did a great thing including strategy, but
Yeah.
the strategy that they employed was out of control.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll get into it in a second, but I think it's the equivalent of like if a team in football is trying to do the hurry up offense and the defense just like lays on top of the ball
Pretty
Basically.
much.
to like prevent
Yeah.
you from actually getting to play the sport.
Yeah.
Anything else on story?
I think we pretty much covered most of it. I guess I'll throw this in here now as part of the story because it was a big part of it. Like the cameos were awesome.
Yeah.
With Zach Brown, Toto coming in, Fernando Alonso just kind of tapping Brad Pitt on the shoulder.
Yep.
It was really fun seeing them, and like they legit had like behind the scenes access to all these guys because they were at the races.
I like
Yeah.
how they reference Drive to Survive in the movie too.
Yeah,
The-
that was great.
Yeah.
I would have definitely loved more cameos, but I also understand because all of this was filmed during real race weekends. So this would, to go back to equivalents, like this would be some movie star sitting on the bench with LeBron and trying to get him to act in the movie while
That's
they're
a bad
playing the
analogy
game.
because LeBron gives less a fuck about
That's
basketball.
true.
He'd probably
That's
be
true.
like,
It'd be somebody trying really hard
like
to be
Jokic,
good.
Nikola.
Yeah, trying to get Jokic to act while he's on the bench in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tough to get the cameos. The ones that existed were really solid. Stuck to their character very well. But, yeah, we would have loved a little bit more.
Who was the one guy that probably had like a more sustained speaking part at the very end? Who was that? Was he a team owner or like a director who, I think he was talking to JP. He was like, if you ever want to drive for...
Oh, Toto, yeah.
Yeah, he's the
Team
Principal
principal
for
/ owner of Mercedes.
Oh, shit.
Mercedes
Yeah, so he's
Racing.
like very invested in the team. He's a billionaire
And
because of Mercedes.
Fun fact about him: his wife is also like involved in the racing world.
Yeah,
like, raced back in the
she
day.
run
Oh,
she
shit.
did race back in the day. She
Yeah.
now runs the F1 Academy, which
Not
is
F1, but she did race.
yeah. She runs the F1 Academy, which is the women.
Yeah.
Damn. That's a
But-
fun fact.
I mean, we could keep going on forever about that, so we can move
Yeah.
on.
All right, on to best scene. I'll go first. My favorite scene in this, as great as the racing scenes were, and Joseph Kosinski can direct the shit out of an action scene between this and Top Gun Maverick. I really liked the scene when they were in Vegas and they had the poker game that was set up by Carrie Condon's character, Kate, where basically it's like if you have like two siblings who are fighting with each other and you like tie them together and are like, you guys are going to hang out until you actually get along.
Yeah.
And the entire time it was a great chance for Sonny to... They both have egos in different like areas of the sport, I feel like.
Sure.
JP obviously is, I think, very egotistical because he's afraid of losing his job. And Sonny is just like, I've been doing this for so long, dude, I don't have time for this stupid shit. So that was a cool scene to me. It gave me Ocean's 11 vibes, seeing Brad Pitt play poker. And this is where I got it. Herb Williams does not know what the fuck he's talking about. He claims that Kate and Sonny had sexual intercourse. And I said, they're not married, you fucking idiot. So, great scene. Herb obviously
Yeah,
misinterpreted
no, that's
at
on
the
me.
end.
That's on me.
And he just sounded like an idiot in the theater. People behind us are probably like, this fucking guy.
Yeah, he doesn't understand matrimony and how that works.
No, unless I guess they're in Vegas. They could have gone to a chapel.
They could have got it done quick.
Okay,
Sure.
maybe they did.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a
Little
deleted
drive-through.
scene.
Little drive-through marriage.
Director's cut where it's like, all right, we can add 15 more minutes to this. But the Vegas scene was my favorite.
Yeah.
Nate, how about you?
I'm gonna throw it to Herb real quick.
Okay.
I want to see what he does.
All right, my favorite scene, honestly, it had nothing to do with the plot. They could have deleted it. It would have changed nothing about the movie. But I do think it was the most realistic aspect of the movie because I guarantee this has happened to probably at least half the drivers on the grid where Damson gets asked at the club, are you an F1 driver? And everyone thinks like, oh, she's hitting on him. She wants him.
Groupie.
And then he says, yeah, I am. And she goes, can you introduce me to Carlos Sainz, who, for non-F1 fans is the hottest guy in the grid. Everybody wants Carlos Sainz. So, guarantee most of the drivers on the grid have probably met a fan and have been asked, hey, can you get me in touch with Carlos Sainz?
Yeah.
Especially on the female side.
Yeah, that was a funny little Easter egg there.
He used it as his excuse to get away from her. He's like, yeah, let me go grab him.
So I'll take it now. My favorite scene was probably the initial time that Sonny Hayes gets in the car to drive around the track. So, and
Was this a quali lap?
No, just like he's introduced, he jumps in the car. It's the first time the Apex GP team is meeting him.
Yep.
And he ends up, spoilers, ends up crashing the car. But I think that it sets up the rest of the movie because he's going around, he finally takes a flying lap and tries to get the best time he can. And you don't know what's going to happen. He has a few good turns, and then he kind of goes off the rails and then ends up crashing. But you're kind of on the edge of your seat the whole time. But that continues through, and it sets up the other races too, because there's a ton of crashes and a ton of times where races are going one way and they go a completely different way, and you're just like heartbroken because of what happens. Like, fuck, I thought this was gonna be the time.
It can change in an instant.
They were gonna podium. They were gonna get some points.
Yep.
And like that happened so many other times. And that's the scene that kind of kicked it off. Because I was hoping he was gonna fucking fly around, get in the car, and like fucking ace it, and he ends up crashing the car.
It did a good job too of like I think displaying. Obviously, he's reckless throughout the movie, but also he's like trying to basically relearn the skills.
Oh yeah,
like the car
is
is
a completely different car.
When he just goes and sits with Kate's character half the time, he's like, "Holy shit, this technology and the cars have changed so much. Like, am I even going to be able to hack it in this new F1 world?" And that did a really good job. It made you like him as a driver while also being like, "Yeah, bro, you have some hours you need to put in."
Yeah,
is that where he made the bet with the guy? He's like, "You should take it," or he was like, "You should have taken that bet."
Yeah, that was like the first press conference he had.
Yeah,
or something like that. It's funny you're talking about the technology. Literally watching a practice today for F1. And one of the commentators was saying from when he drove till now, I don't know how much time that was, probably a decade or 15 years, there is literally a ton more downforce on the cars now.
They're glued insane to the ground.
So 2,000 more pounds is pressing down on the car than 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, it's progressed so much.
So it's basically like my ex-wife is sitting on the car now.
There it is.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
That's disrespectful.
All right, on to impact. Basically anything about this movie that didn't fit into the other categories. Herb, we'll go to you first.
There's a lot of impact. I don't even really know where to start. So overall, I think the movie did a great job of kind of capturing the essence of F1. You got a lot of kind of the back end stuff, like what F1 drivers need to do on a day-to-day basis in order to be prepared. Like they even showed the neck workouts, which is huge in F1. They showed simulator time. Like I loved all of that. That really gave you a glimpse into, the real F1 life. Mm-hmm. But then kind of going back to the strategies that we were talking about earlier, it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, they in that first race that Sonny got, the multiple safety cars, that was 4 lifetime bans in one race. And that's happened before where a teammate has caused a crash on purpose. I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s. I don't remember exactly who was involved. But it was late in the season, and he wanted to help his teammate win the championship. He caused a crash. He took out some other driver that was in competition. And after that season ended, I mean, from the CEO to the team name down all the way to the drivers, everybody is banned for life from the sport.
Did Sonny not tell the team what he was doing to not implicate them, or was it just like
no? He was. I mean, he was talking about it on the radio.
Yeah.
They were like, "Let's win it, the right way," and he's like, "We can't win the right way." Yeah. And then in the pit when he waits 30 seconds for Max Verstappen to come around,
that was super obvious.
He's like, "Let me know when Max is coming." I mean, they would have stopped him in the pit.
You're like on tape saying that.
Yeah, and I mean that stuff. If you watch an F1 race, you're going to hear that stuff. I mean, that is on the TV broadcast.
And I can't remember if they talked about this in the movie, but like every team can hear every radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, there's no hiding.
So yeah, I mean, the blatant cheating didn't really. It wasn't great. Like if you're not an F1 fan, you're going to watch that and be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But that would not fly in an F1 race. Like that would be like them trying to make a realistic baseball movie, and they're playing the real Yankees on the other side, and then this fictional team is corking their bats and shooting steroids in the dugout, just out in the open.
So the 85
and nobody's stopping them. And oh man, these guys are pretty cheeky. Like
that's a good analogy.
They really thought of that. So yeah, a lot of holes in the strategy aspect of the movie. But other than that, they definitely captured the essence.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and this isn't defending it, but at least for like the more diehard F1 fans, did he only do it really in that one race?
Yeah. Well, like blatant, like very blatant.
Yeah, he did a couple things with but that was like the main safety car. Like you're definitely getting a lifetime ban for doing that.
Right.
And then at the very end, just like waiting 30 seconds in the pit box for
That,
Max.
even
like,
as someone that doesn't,
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the one that pissed me off too, as someone who doesn't even understand F1, but when he was having like the quarrel with his pit crew about what tires to use, and he just fucking sat in the pit like, humph! Like I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Yeah,
Until you put the right
never
tires.
see that.
Never.
And his pit crew's like, dude, are you fucking kidding? We're up to 11 seconds and you've had tires for like 9 of them.
Even Lewis Hamilton wouldn't do that. I mean,
You hear him bitch on the radio.
Yeah, he'll bitch on the radio, and Max Verstappen, like all those guys are multiple time champions, and they're gonna get on with it. They're gonna complain about the tire, but they're not gonna sit there and just wait. Obviously that was
you're hurting
ridiculous.
yourself at that point. You're just being an idiot. Mm-hmm. All right, Nate, how about you? Impact.
Overall impact on this, I think is going to be pretty huge. And like looking at the reverse side, like the impact coming into this and what caused this, like Drive to Survive, and like how it drove this movie, I'm sure. And I know Brad Pitt has been wanting this movie for a long time, and so once Drive to Survive came through, I'm sure he was just like licking his chops at that point. He's like, "Fuck, we finally got the momentum we need to get an F1 movie made, and like a legit F1 movie." And I think it's going to have even a further bigger impact is because of the exclusivity of like the access they had, who they had as far as executive producers. Lewis Hamilton, obviously a huge part of this as far as a sounding board whenever they had ideas or things. So I think that's really why you got a lot of authenticity with it, regardless of the first penalties that Brad Pitt was getting, knocking his front wing off. Other than that, like I love all the strategy stuff, like saying, hey, box, which they're going into pit, they don't go in. They try and fake out the other teams.
That's cool.
It was really realistic on a lot of that stuff, and like them on the radio. No, stay out. We got to go. We got to push the tires. Hey, don't drive as flat. Don't drive as hard on those tires. We need those for another 10 laps. Things like that.
The fake pit.
The fake pit was nice.
The fake pit was legit.
Yeah.
People do that all the time.
Because, like you said, other teams can hear your radio.
Yeah,
so-
exactly.
And you do have to be careful with that in F1 because, like, if you cross the line at a certain point or for a
the
certain
white
time,
line,
then you'll get penalized because like, you can't go
Is it like
in the pit.
Is it
and
like
come
football
out.
where they would have like a code word or something that they would say that would deke the other
Maybe.
team?
Yeah,
They could.
they
could.
They can definitely do that.
But, like, yeah, with Drive to Survive, was it 4 or 5 years ago?
I think the first season of Drive to Survive was the 2019 F1 season.
So that, and then this stacked on top, like F1 is gonna blow up at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's gonna get even bigger than it is now.
Absolutely. And the race scenes, the crashes, all of those were real. Like those are from real F1 races.
That's
Basically,
cool.
what they did was they took real battles and then they took the Apex car and they put it over like whatever car they were battling. Like when he drove into the grass and did that overtake on the outside, that was real.
Yeah.
When Damson had the huge crash, that was a real crash from an F3 race.
Yeah.
So all of that super, super legit. There was one thing I forgot to mention. The only kind of gripe that I have, and I know it's kind of tough. So the Apex cars were actually F2 cars.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they
What's
were
the difference?
They were smaller and their wing was higher.
Yeah.
So, but I get it. I mean, those are multi-million-dollar machines.
Yeah.
They're even
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
like last year's model or the year before model, like
Yeah.
they're probably not going to give it to you to use in the movie. So getting an F2 car was probably a lot easier, and they look similar.
That makes sense.
You're not going to like. It took me probably halfway through the movie to even realize it. Like, oh wait, that's not even.
Yeah.
An
Do they
F1
go
car.
faster? Like because of the
No.
No, F1 cars go the fastest.
Yeah.
They have the biggest engines, most horsepower,
Right.
most downforce. I mean, they got all the technology you need. So
And all the podiums were real too.
yeah.
Those were cool.
Yeah, even at the end, those were. I can't remember who else. I know Hamilton was. He was in first most of that last race to the end. He was on the podium.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who was in second.
Because he was like the villain that they made it out to be at the end, where JP was like trying to pass
Yeah.
him.
That last scene, there was George Russell. It was Russell and Leclerc. I don't
that who it
remember
was?
which race that was. I don't know if that was the last race. I don't think it was
okay.
the last race, but it was their first podium.
Yeah.
When Brad told Ruben to go up there, and he was like, "Hand him the trophy." Was that the
Yeah,
race
that
he
was the last
won?
one. Yeah,
that
that was
was
the last one, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it was
So it was
Russell,
Russell
and
and
Leclerc were on there because
Okay.
they were the ones spraying him with champagne.
Usually, are there? What's the name? Is it team principal? The guy that like are they usually up there with them on the
Yeah.
podium?
They usually have a guest up there, whether it's the team principal or like a technical director, strategist. They always send a member of the winning team up there as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like some weird movie. It wouldn't be like
No.
the Lakers win and it's like get Jeannie Buss up here.
No,
it's
no,
like
no,
she-
that-
Because they'll get a
happens.
trophy presented to them as well.
For the team, yeah. They collect the team's trophy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Only thing I'll say for impact was how we watched this movie.
Oh, yeah.
This was the first film that I've seen on D-Box, which a lot of people out there might be familiar with it. It's basically like a mini theme park ride where certain seats in the theater are D-Box seats and they move and vibrate like in accordance with what's happening on screen.
Like those VR rides. Yeah.
Yeah, and at first I was like, luckily Herb Williams told me you can like turn up or down the intensity on it, because I was like, bro, if I'm gonna get like whiplash from this thing, I don't know if I'll be able to last 2.5 hours. But I had it at the max volume, and as you guys know on the pod, I'm a fucking badass. Like, obviously, everyone knows that, and
that's why
in the comments, that's all people talk about. So it's not news to anybody here. But it was a really cool experience, and this movie, like, I can't imagine seeing it. I know this is like, you're gonna go, okay, well, I watch it in IMAX, bro. Fuck you. I can't imagine seeing it not in D-Box, what it would be like, because all the race scenes, you're so immersed in it. And I was telling these guys this off pod, even scenes where like there's a scene where Sonny Hayes is like jogging on the track pre-race to like stay in shape, and the seat was like gently gyrating, and I didn't realize it until like
you almost don't know.
I know. I was like, I'm fucking running with Sonny.
I thought I was going to get tired of it, but it just kept getting better.
Yeah.
Even in like that last race.
Yeah.
I mean, you felt him slowing down. You go like forward in the seat, and then when they speed up, you kind of get
it would
back
like
into the seat.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would like move the correct way for the turn.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, like, sitting there and like feeling everything, I was like, this is a lot of fucking work for someone to time this up, because
I thought the exact same thing. I was like, whose job was this?
Because the surfaces.
I wonder
you're on the track, then you go make a chicane
Yeah.
or a turn, and you go ba 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 ba, and you feel it.
Is that
I'm
somebody from the movie, or is that a Cinemark employee?
Like,
I was thinking about
I think
that
it's
so long.
I know.
Chris, who does the concessions, was like, I did the D-Box, but
Like, it was
like, that's
insane,
sick,
like
bro.
how it timed up, and like the surface the car was
Yeah.
on, like that was the surface you felt.
Yep.
It was bumpy, it was smooth. It was
Very
it was an
legit.
insane experience. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, when the lovemaking scene started, was there a little bump in the
Allegedly.
little bump in the seat? I thought it was I'm not kidding. Whenever he starts making out with her, I was like
this is now really D-Box.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was so into the scene, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
okay.
And the whole time I was just thinking, are they married?
Okay.
Why is this plot hole? That's the only plot hole that I really noticed.
It's a big one. It's a big one.
I didn't. I'll have to go back and look for a ring on his finger. I'm sure it's there because they wouldn't fucking do
Right.
that. All right, last one. Rewatchability, or would you recommend this film, Nate Thurman, to your fellow F1 heads and or movie fans? And as we always say, Killian Murphy, big fan of the podcast. He's listening.
I'm sure.
Would you recommend this to go watch?
Hundo P. We have a fellow F1 fan out of the country right now, and when he gets back, we might, if it's still in theaters, we might try and go see it. But even outside of that, like, yes, I'll watch this at home, and like I'll deep dive into. I'm sure there's other things I'll pick up. I'll just be like scouring the background of every scene to try and see if I can pick up any other funny cameos or anything. But no, it's definitely rewatchable. The racing scenes are super intense. And like I said, even though the overarching premise is kind of ridiculous, everything inside of the movie is realistic enough, and there's enough F1 Easter eggs and fan service and stuff like that to keep me interested. It's a great movie. They did really well.
I would say for the non-F1 fans, definitely go watch it without hesitation. I would say for the F1 fans, go watch it as well. Even if you're, going to be a little nitpicky with kind of the strategy and all that gets employed, I think one of the big reasons that a lot of people love F1 is because there's so few drivers out there. And, with Drive to Survive, you get to intimately know all of them. So, there's not really many drivers on the grid that I root against. And when you just see those guys in a movie, you kind of get a little giddy,
Lance Stroll. I root
Yeah.
against him.
Okay, yeah, root against Stroll.
That's my one guy.
Yeah. But again, you just kind of get excited when you see Lando Norris on a movie screen. So, put all that other stuff aside, realize that it's Hollywood, it's a movie. You're still going to like it as, a diehard F1 fan for sure.
Yeah, as bad as Major League Baseball is at marketing their sport, like hiding clips on Twitter, like Mike Trout had a game today in secret, only Buddhist monks were able to watch it. F1 has gone the opposite with how well they've done. I mean, they had the Netflix series, which obviously was massive, and clearly they were totally game to give this IP to Brad Pitt and his production company to make it. And it's just smart when people have access to the athletes they get invested in the sport and it helps grow it. And so me as like someone that doesn't really know much about F1, every time I watch it and with this movie, I'm like, this shit's really interesting. And especially how when you watch the sport, you're actually able to listen to, like, this would be the equivalent of like watching a Buffalo Bills game and I can hear like Josh Allen and the offensive coordinator talk to each other. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would definitely say see this in the biggest screen you can. I think Jurassic World Rebirth right now is really fucking regretting their release date when they decided to come out this week, because it's week 2 of F1, and I would imagine there's a decent chance that it's still going to beat Jurassic World Rebirth at the box office.
Yeah, maybe.
Because of either word of mouth or all the different ways that you can see this movie. We were pissed watching this. We were trying to watch it in Dolby, and they were giving all the screens to Jurassic World Rebirth, which is fucking stupid. And if you're a dinosaur listening to this, take offense to it.
Fuck you.
But yeah, I would say whether you are an F1 fan or not, even if you just like sports movies or like cool cinematic experiences, this is what got people out to go see Top Gun Maverick.
Sure.
Was the fact that it's something you can't really get on your couch, and it's like part of why we go to the theaters. So I would definitely recommend this to everyone out there, even if you're not a huge F1 fan. And if you aren't, it'll probably get you more interested in the sport, just like Drive to Survive.
I think it will.
That was pretty brave of you to call out a massive faction of your fans.
14 Velociraptors just said unsubscribe.
Damn it.
The pterodactyls, though, they're fucking loyal to us, bro. We give them a lot of love on the pod.
They have good humor.
Yeah. All right, for Herb Williams, who we'll just call the 8th man off the bench, giving us a solid 2.2 rebounds, 1.8 points, and all 6 fouls because you can't take them home with you.
Oh, yeah.
And the American hero, Nate Thurman. I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We have been the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. You can find us at broforcesquad.com. Everything we've ever posted is there. Type in Bro Force Squad podcast on all, I don't know, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google, Pornhub. Hopefully nothing comes up, but I haven't been checking with Banner what he's been.
You don't want to.
Okay. Till next time, we'll see you at the racetrack. Box! You cannot beat us to this team! Which I think he's mad, but I don't know what he said.
Yeah.